Every day we wake up and we're faced with two choices: continue to live by default or live by design. An unbreakable mindset isn't born out of comfort. It's forged daily in the fire of intention, discipline, and meaning. Here are 5 practices that, if done consistently, will build that kind of mind. Not a mind that avoids pain or fear, but one that walks straight into it, ready, steady, and unshaken. Before the emails, before the texts, before you check the news or scroll through your phone, pause. Sit in the stillness and ask yourself one question that very few people dare to ask in the rush of modern life. Why am I doing what It's such a simple question, and yet most people live their entire lives without truly answering it. They wake up, go through the motions, chase achievement after achievement, check off every task on their list, and still feel lost. That's because when we lead with tasks instead of purpose, we confuse movement with meaning. We end up busy but not fulfilled, active but not aligned. Starting your day with purpose means stepping back from the noise of what and reconnecting to the deeper why. It's the conscious decision to live by design rather than default. Because here's the hard truth. If you don't choose your direction, something or someone else will choose it for you. The to-do list will always be there. It will always demand your attention. There will always be calls to return, projects to finish, errands to run. But the to-do list doesn't know your values. It doesn't know your dreams. It only knows urgency. And urgency is rarely aligned with importance. Purpose, on the other hand, is not urgent. It whispers. It invites. It asks us to look deeper, to move from reaction to intention. When you lead your day with purpose, you don't just check boxes. You make progress towards something that matters. You don't just accomplish things, you grow into someone. Let's say you're in a leadership role. Sure, your to-do list says you need to approve a report, respond to a client, and attend 3 meetings, but your purpose might be to lead with empathy, to inspire others, to create an environment where people feel seen and valued. If that purpose is your starting point, then everything on your list becomes an opportunity to express it. You're not just responding to a client, you're building trust. You're not just attending meetings, you're setting a tone. You're not just checking boxes, you're reinforcing a mission. Purpose shifts how we do what we do. It brings clarity to chaos. It turns tasks into tools. It turns pressure into progress. And when things get hard, as they inevitably do, purpose is what keeps you grounded. Because the truth is, motivation fades, passion fades, but purpose is deeper. It's the reason you get back up after failure. It's what keeps you moving when there's no applause. It's what keeps you steady when everything around you is uncertain. Now, that doesn't mean you ignore your task. It means you do them from a different place. You filter them through a lens of meaning. You ask yourself, does this move me closer to the life I want to live? Does this reflect the kind of person I want to become? If the answer is no, maybe it shouldn't be on your list in the first place. So tomorrow morning, when you wake up, don't reach for your phone. Don't dive straight into activity. Instead, take 5 quiet minutes. Close your eyes, breathe, and ask, why am I showing up today? What kind of impact do I want to make? Not just what do I want to finish. That small pause could change the entire trajectory of your day. Over time, it could change your life. Because when you begin with purpose, you don't just get more done, you become more of who you were meant to be. We've all felt it, that quick surge of anger when someone cuts us off in traffic, the sting of a careless comment, the rush of frustration when plans fall apart. These moments test us. And in those moments, what we do next defines not just the outcome of the situation, but the strength of our mindset. Emotional discipline isn't about pretending everything's fine. It's not about bottling things up or becoming numb. It's about learning how to respond rather than react. It's about developing the ability to pause in the space between stimulus and response and making a conscious choice rather than a conditioned one. Most people go through life on autopilot. Something upsets them and they lash out. Something scares them and they shut down. They become passengers in their own emotional lives, allowing external circumstances to dictate their internal state. But there is a better way. Emotional discipline starts with awareness. You can't manage what you don't notice. That means tuning in to your emotional signals without judgment. Anger, fear, frustration, sadness, these aren't the enemy. They're messengers. They're trying to tell you something. But when you let those emotions take the wheel, they often drive you off course. Take anger, for example. It's often a mask for hurt. When someone disrespects you, your immediate emotional response might be to defend or attack. But if you pause, if you take just a moment to breathe and ask yourself, what am I really feeling here? You might uncover something deeper. Maybe it's disappointment. Maybe it's a sense of not being valued. That moment of reflection is where discipline lives. And here's the thing. The stronger your vision, the more critical emotional discipline becomes. If you want to lead, to build, to create something meaningful, you will be tested. People will misunderstand you. Life will surprise you. Not everyone will support you. And in those moments, your ability to remain calm, composed, and clear-headed will determine whether you move forward or spiral. It's not about being passive. It's about being powerful in your calm. Emotionally disciplined people know when to speak and when to stay silent. They know when to hold their ground and when to walk away. They don't let temporary emotions ruin permanent relationships. They don't burn bridges just to feel powerful for a moment. Practicing emotional discipline doesn't require hours of meditation or years of therapy, though those can help. It begins in small choices. When someone annoys you, you choose to respond with curiosity instead of sarcasm. When you're disappointed, you give yourself permission to feel it without letting it poison your perspective. When you're stressed, you slow down instead of speeding up. Discipline means you no longer hand your peace of mind to the first person who pushes your buttons. You take ownership of your state. You lead yourself first. And only then are you qualified to lead others. One of the most powerful questions you can ask in emotionally charged moments is this: is what I'm about to say or do aligned with the person I'm trying to become? That question puts your emotions in service of your values. It reminds you that your reactions are not fixed, they're trainable. And every time you pause, breathe, and choose wisely, you're strengthening a muscle that very few people ever develop. You can't control what the world throws at you, but you can control how you hold it. You can meet chaos with clarity. You can meet insult with integrity. You can meet fear with courage. And when you do, something amazing happens. You stop being a victim of your circumstances. You become the author of your responses. You stop breaking under pressure and start building a mindset that doesn't just endure a challenge, but rises through it. We live in a world that constantly tells us to seek comfort, make things easier, avoid the hard stuff, don't take risks, don't feel pain. But the truth is, nothing worth having, nothing truly meaningful is ever built in comfort. Growth lives on the other side of discomfort. And the people who learn to embrace it on purpose are the ones who rise above the rest. Discomfort isn't the enemy. It's the signal that you're stepping beyond what's familiar. It's the feeling that tells you you're not coasting anymore, you're stretching. And when you stretch consistently, you grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Most people wait until life forces them into discomfort through loss, failure, or unexpected change. But there's another way. You can choose it. You can seek out small discomforts every single day, not because you enjoy pain, but because you understand its purpose. Waking up earlier than your body wants to, saying no to distractions, having the hard conversation, showing up when it's easier to stay home, trying something new even when you feel unsure. These aren't grand gestures. They're choices. And when you make them on purpose, they train your mind to stop fearing discomfort and start using it. Think about a muscle. If you never challenge it, it stays weak. It might not hurt, but it doesn't grow either. The same is true for your mind. If you never do things that scare you, if you never step outside your emotional or mental comfort zone, your mindset will stay soft. It might feel safe, but it will be fragile. The magic of discomfort is that it reveals who you really are. When things are easy, you don't have to think deeply. You don't have to lead yourself. But when you're in pain, when you're tired, when you're tempted to quit, that's when your real mindset shows up. And here's something few people understand. You don't build mental toughness when you feel strong. You build it when you feel weak, but keep going anyway. That's where confidence is born, not from success, but from struggle. From proving to yourself day after day that you can handle more than you thought. There's a simple practice that can shift everything. Do one thing every day that makes you uncomfortable. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Take a cold shower. Speak up when you usually stay silent. Say no when you usually say yes. Push yourself just slightly further than feels normal. That's how you expand your threshold. That's how discomfort becomes your teacher, not your enemy. It's also important to remember that discomfort isn't always physical. Emotional discomfort, like rejection, embarrassment, or uncertainty, is just as powerful. And avoiding it keeps you stuck. But when you step into it, when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, when you act with courage even while afraid, that's when you become unbreakable. There is a quiet kind of power in choosing discomfort. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it's transformative. Because each time you do something hard on purpose, you're sending a message to yourself. I don't run from difficulty, I rise to it. And over time, that message becomes your identity. Comfort is easy, but it robs you of growth. Discomfort is difficult, but it rewards you with strength. So don't just tolerate discomfort, train in it, invite it, step into it like a warrior, knowing that it's not there to stop you, it's there to shape you. Because if you can learn to embrace discomfort on purpose, nothing can truly break you. And everything you want, everything you're capable of becoming, is waiting on the other side. If you spoke to your friends the way you speak to yourself, would they still want to be around you? Most people carry an inner voice that isn't a coach. It's a critic. It second guesses, tears down, and magnifies every flaw. It says things like, you're not good enough. You always mess this up. Who do you think you are? And the most dangerous part, we start to believe it. We don't question it. We accept it as truth. But here's the reality. That voice was trained. It wasn't born with you. It was shaped by years of judgment, comparison, rejection, and fear. The good news? It can be retrained. And it must be because your relationship with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship in your life. Speaking to yourself with kindness isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It doesn't mean you let yourself off the hook. It means you hold yourself to high standards without tearing yourself down in the process. Think about someone you deeply care about. When they fail, do you mock them? When they feel afraid, do you call them pathetic? Of course not. You encourage them, you support them, you remind them of their worth, even when they've forgotten it themselves. You deserve that same level of care. The words you say to yourself are not harmless. They shape your confidence, your belief, your resilience. They form the lens through which you see the world, and if your inner dialogue is toxic, then even success will feel empty. Because you'll always feel like you're not enough. Self-talk isn't just psychological, it's practical. When you face a challenge, your internal voice is either building you up or tearing you down. It's either saying, you've got this, or why even try? And over time, those voices add up. They form habits of thought. And those habits determine whether you show up with courage or shrink in fear. So how do you change it? First, you become aware. Pay attention to your internal dialogue. Not just when things go well, but especially when they go wrong. Notice the patterns. Catch the harsh words, write them down if you need to. Awareness is the first step to breaking the cycle. Next, interrupt it. When you catch yourself saying something cruel or self-defeating, ask, would I say this to a friend? If the answer is no, it has no place in your self-talk. Replace it. Not with fake positivity, but with grounded truth. Instead of, I always fail, say, I'm learning. This is part of the process. Instead of, I'm not enough, say, I'm still growing, but I have value now. This isn't about pretending everything's okay. It's about choosing words that support your growth instead of sabotaging it. Because real strength doesn't come from beating yourself up. It comes from being honest and hopeful at the same time. And the more you speak to yourself with care, the more resilient you become. Not because you avoid failure, but because you stop making failure personal. You begin to see setbacks as events, not as definitions of your worth. You learn to forgive yourself faster, to bounce back quicker, to move forward with more clarity. We often look for encouragement from others, but the truth is, the most important voice you'll ever hear is your own. You are with yourself every moment of every day. That voice matters. That voice leads. And it can either destroy your potential or unlock it. So choose to speak to yourself like someone you love, with kindness, with strength, with belief. Because when your inner voice becomes a source of encouragement instead of judgment, your entire mindset transforms, and so does your life. At the end of the day, most people lie in bed replaying everything they didn't do, the call they forgot to return, the task left unfinished, the moment they snapped at someone, the opportunity they didn't take, guilt creeps in quietly, whispering, "You should have done more." And we carry that weight into the next day, hoping to somehow make up for it, but never quite feeling caught up. This is how so many people live, exhausted, chasing a finish line that keeps moving, holding on to guilt like it's some kind of fuel. But guilt is a terrible motivator. It drains your energy, it narrows your focus. It keeps you stuck in the past, obsessed with what went wrong instead of grounded in what went right. Gratitude, on the other hand, changes everything. But gratitude doesn't ignore the things that didn't get done. It simply doesn't let those things define your day. It shifts your attention from what's missing to what's meaningful. It invites you to acknowledge progress, not just perfection. You know, you might not have finished the entire list, but maybe you showed up anyway. Maybe you made someone feel heard. Maybe you got through a tough moment without breaking down. That matters, and gratitude allows you to see it. Ending your day with gratitude doesn't require a grand ritual. It can be as simple as writing down 3 things that went well: a small win, a kind word, a lesson learned. Over time, this daily practice rewires your brain to notice what's working instead of what's lacking. And that small shift creates a massive impact on your mindset. Guilt says, "You're behind." Gratitude says, "Look how far you've come." When you train yourself to end the day on a note of thankfulness, you start to rest better, think clearer, feel lighter. You wake up with a stronger mindset because you're not carrying yesterday's shame into today's possibilities. And this isn't just feel-good advice, it's strategic. A mindset built on guilt becomes reactive. You're always trying to prove something, always trying to earn your worth. But a mindset rooted in gratitude becomes intentional. You act from a place of fullness, not lack. You move from purpose, not pressure. Gratitude also creates emotional resilience. When life gets difficult, and it will, grateful people still feel the pain, but they're not consumed by it. They can find meaning in struggle. They can hold both joy and hardship in the same breath. That's not naive, that's strength. One of the most powerful things you can do is take a moment each night to ask yourself, what am I proud of today? Not what went perfectly, not what got finished. Just, what did I do today that mattered? Maybe you kept going when it would have been easier to quit. Maybe you supported someone else. Maybe you simply survived something hard. Recognize it. Write it down. Let it count. Because when you start to close each day with gratitude, you begin to see that progress is happening, even if it's not obvious. You stop being at war with yourself. You stop measuring your worth by productivity. And you start building a mindset that can't be shaken by setbacks. Gratitude is not weakness, it's clarity. It's the discipline to look beyond what's undone and honor what's been done. It's the courage to say today was enough, even if it wasn't perfect. And when you end each day with that kind of reflection, you wake up stronger, more centered, more focused. Because now you're not just chasing results, you're grounded in growth. So tonight, before the guilt creeps in, take a deep breath. Look at the day through the lens of grace and remind yourself what you did today matters. That's how you build an unbreakable mindset. One grateful moment at a time.